Welcome to the Brother Henry and You Show. I am your host, Henry Harris. Welcome to the Brother Henry and You Show. I am your host, Henry Harris, and what a delight for you to tune in tonight. I have an awesome, inspiring, motivational, uplifting encouragement just for you today. And today I was pondering on the subject, I know how you feel. How often have we told someone that maybe someone have lost a loved one, maybe someone has lost a job or experienced some type of loss or tragedy in their life, and oftentimes, it's a positive gesture that people may say, "Well, I'm sorry, I know how you feel." But the reality of it is, we're going to look at it from a different approach today on why we really shouldn't be saying that. And this is not to tell you what to do. I've made a conscious decision not to say that, because at the end of the day, do I really know how someone feels unless I'm in their thought pattern, unless I'm in their life? Or better yet, unless I have experienced the very thing that they went through. But even if our experiences are similar, at the end of the day, do you still really know how that person really feels? So that's what I want to talk about today on the show. So have you ever experienced a tragedy in your life or went through something that was painful and someone tells you, "I know how you feel"? Have you ever pondered this question? Do you really, or do you think some people just say that just to be saying it? Now, I just want to make it clear that many people that say this, and one of my friends, Brother Taryn Harris, brought this to my attention because I was telling him I was going to be talking about this. One thing that we have to keep in mind is that people who tell you that they're good people, they're not. They don't mean ill will by it. They don't mean anything bad by it. They have good intentions. They probably really do mean it when they say, "I know how you feel." So I want to make sure I said that. I don't want people to think that if you tell somebody, "I know how you feel," that makes you a bad person or whatnot. It really doesn't. I think when people say it, they genuinely do mean it. I would hope that's not the case. And while it's nice for someone to tell you they know how you feel, it can also be slightly misleading, especially if you haven't experienced what they've endured. Now, this is something that has always bothered me, because I've heard people say, "I know how you feel, Brother Henry, about a certain event or tragedy or trauma or whatever I'm going through in my life." They tell me, "I know how you feel." You know how bad I want to tell them, like, "No, you don't. You don't know how I feel." And also this, and I'm going to say this and I'm going to be blunt. If you have never experienced what that person is going through, how is it that you have the audacity to say that you know how that person feels? How can you say that? "Oh, I know how you feel." How do you really know how I feel when you've never been through it? I was telling somebody this the other day that has lost a mother. She's a good friend of mine, and she lost her mother last year. I can't go to her and say, "Well, you know what? I know how you feel." Because the reality of it is, do I? I really don't. I don't know how she feels. Now, I can sympathize with her and empathize with her in other ways to make her feel better. about the situation, to comfort her in her time of need of losing her mother. But at the end of the day, what is that reality for me? The reality for me is that my mother is still living. Therefore, I can't tell her about something that I haven't yet experienced. And even in the event where I do lose my mother one of these days, the way I may feel about it and the way I may handle that in my life, she may handle it a different way, which means the way we both feel about the same situation is different. Which brings us to the conclusion that nobody really knows how each other feels. I had another friend that told me not too long ago, I was letting her know about this subject as well, and she said, well, we've been trained not to even say that. And I thought and pondered on it. I said, wow, I wish many people would adapt to that sort of thinking. She said, we've been trained not to even say those words, I know how you feel. That's what I would like to talk about tonight on the show. And I want to address, why do people say it? And once again, it don't mean that you're a bad person. People probably really do mean it when they say it. But we're going to dive deeper into this. When someone says, I know how you feel, what does that really mean? What do they mean when they say that? When someone says, I know how you feel, what's happening is that they are trying to express sympathy and understanding towards someone. For example, I'm sorry, John. I know how you feel. So we see that the main reason why many people say this is to express sympathy and understanding. But can we be realistic for a second? Can we just be real for a second? Can one really know exactly how someone feels about a certain event or something that happened in their life? Like I said, once again, you may have been through similar experiences, but at the end of the day, this is the way I look at it, unless you're in that person's mind or thought pattern, do you really know how that person feels? And some people just say it out of habit. Some people just say it just to be saying it. And I hope that today we will kind of reevaluate, even if you do say it, mean it. I choose not to say it because I feel like every human being is different. And I feel like at the end of the day, I really don't know how someone feels about a certain event or a certain situation that may be going on in their life. I want you to ponder on that question for a few seconds. I want you to think about what I just said. The question that I said, can one really know exactly how someone feels? We both may have experienced death, sickness, and loss, but as far as relating to exactly how someone feels, is that even possible? These are questions that I asked myself even as I was writing this show out. Is it even possible for someone to have the same exact feelings as someone else? Now, I don't know about you, but I have come to the conclusion of reminding myself not even to use or even to say such words, as it can be not only misleading, as I said earlier, but for some people, especially if you haven't experienced what they went through, it can also be insulting and devastating to them. I know how you feel to anyone because honestly, while we may have similar experiences, at the end of the day, I honestly don't know how one is really feeling. As I said earlier, unless you are in their frame of thought, unless you are in their head, we really don't know how someone is feeling. And another thing I want to make note of too is that you really don't know how someone may process something. That's why I always tell people, never tell someone, well, you still grieving over your lost son. You still grieving over your lost mother or father. You still grieving over that divorce. You need to get over it. We should never tell someone to get over it. That is very, it's not polite. It's very mean-spirited. And also, it's just not a nice thing to say. You should never tell someone to say that. And thirdly, I just thought about this, and thirdly, it's very insensitive. It really is. Because the way you may process something, I may process it differently. It doesn't mean you're wrong and I'm right, and it doesn't mean I'm right and you're wrong. We have our own ways of processing certain things. We may not do it the same way, but this is my way of grieving. This is my way of processing it. No, you don't know how I feel because you're not me. Let's move right along. While I am not a big fan of using these words, I do believe that there are other alternatives, there are other ways that we can express our compassion towards someone that's suffering or experiencing pain or some tragedy in their life. We may think that we know how one feels, but in many cases we don't. And we need to make note of this. And I believe that we all can relate to each other's experiences, and this is very profound. We all can relate to each other's experiences, but as far as knowing exactly how someone feels, I am here to tell you tonight that it is impossible. It's impossible. Now, you may be able to relate to how they feel, maybe slightly, but as far as like wholeheartedly, knowing how they feel, I personally believe, and you don't have to agree with me, I personally believe no one really knows exactly how someone else feels about a certain situation or event that has happened in their life. I could be wrong, but that's just my experience. I can relate, but I really don't know how you feel. I can relate to your pain, but I don't know how you feel. I can relate to your struggle, but I don't know how you feel. I can relate to what you're going through in your life, but I really don't know how you feel. What can I say other than I know how you feel? And like I say, this is not to tell you not to see it. I'm just thinking of some ways. What are some other ways that we can come across as being expressing our sympathy towards someone? And here are some things I was thinking of. I am here for you if you need to talk. Have you ever told someone that have experienced tragedy in their life? Is there anything you need from me? Is there anything that I can do for you? I am sorry that you had to go through this. And one that is very popular and common, we often tell people, you are in my thoughts and my prayers. These are just common things many people say to those in a way of letting them know that they are not suffering alone and they're not suffering by themselves. And while I may not fully understand how you feel, sometimes it's good to let people know that you are there for them. Sometimes that's what people don't. A lot of people that suffering and hurting, they don't want all your fancy words and all this other stuff. They just want to know that you're there. They want to know that you care for them. What people need from you in their darkest hour, what people need from you is your affirmation and your commitment that you're going to stand with them. Even if you don't understand their situation, even if you don't understand what they're going through, even if some of you can't even relate to what they're going through, more or less how they feel, stand with them and be there for them. Don't try to come up with all the answers on why whatever happened in their life. They just need you to be there for them. And we need to realize that when we say to someone we know how they feel, we may not only be insensitive, but we also may be invalidating their feelings. After all, you can never know what another person is going through. You can never know that, especially if you've never been there. It sounds like a nice, empathetic gesture of someone to say, I know how you feel, but it comes across very out of touch and very unrealistic, especially when you haven't endured what I have endured. Did you enjoy that? I enjoyed it. And if you enjoyed it, as always, hit the like button, send me a heart. Let me know you're watching by commenting. Let me know your thoughts. Yeah, I want to know your thoughts. When people say, I know how you feel, what comes across in your mind? What do you think about that? Do you think they should say that? Do you think people that say that, they really mean it? And do you think they really know, I'm talking about like really, really know to the deep part and the depths of their soul how another person feels? That's a good question. I want you to answer that. I want to hear your thoughts in the comment section right now. Let me know where you're watching from. Let me know your thoughts. I know how you feel. Do you really know how I feel? And also take the time to share tonight's broadcast. I appreciate every one of you for watching. I appreciate your support. I appreciate everything that you've done for me over the years. And I hope that these messages have benefited you in some way. Thank you. God bless you. We will see you next week.
We hope you have enjoyed today's program. We want to connect with you. Visit us at facebook.com/The Brother Henry and You Show, or visit us on our YouTube channel at youtube.com/Henry Harris 100. We're so grateful you tuned in today and hope you have a fantastic day.